Good afternoon, everybody. Pigskin Pete here. Happy Tuesday to everybody. Almost forgot what day it was with the holiday yesterday. I just want to make a quick video today. If you're not a Clemson fan, you might not really care about this so much. Although if you're somebody that plays Clemson every year in the ACC, or somebody like South Carolina, or even, people like Alabama that we seem to play every year, playoff contending teams, they actually might care about this. And the reason is there's 4 players on Clemson's defense. We're talking about most of them first-round picks. One or two of them questionably, maybe early second-round picks. But you're talking about 4 of the best defensive players on Clemson's team that were eligible for the draft this year. That basically, you can let me know if you think differently, but pretty much every Clemson fan expected these guys to go into the draft after this season because of where they're going to go in the draft. News came out just in the past couple days, sort of one by one. All these guys are coming back. Christian Wilkins, Cleveland Farrell, Austin Bryant, Kendall Joseph. All 4 guys I had basically written off, thinking that they were going to go pro, have all decided to come back for their senior year. I think actually even 3 of them are going to be graduates. Have already graduated. So they'll be coming back next year to play, without having to go to class and all of that. This is absolutely great news for Clemson's football team. They will definitely be the preseason favorite for having the #1 defense in the country. Having to replace those 4 guys was going to be the biggest hole in Clemson's defense. Now they have great players behind them ready to play, but you're talking about what was arguably the best defensive line in the country this year, coming back next year. And of course, Dexter Lawrence is still, he was a sophomore this year, so he'll be back. So now they're going to be the defense is going to be, especially that front 7, is going to be completely intact. They may make some changes in the secondary, but the team was already young this year anyway. There wasn't a lot of people leaving from the offense either. I think we're losing 1 or 2 offensive linemen. I think Deion Kane, star receiver, is going pro. Of course, we're stacked at receiver anyway. The running backs are all coming back. I mean, the star running backs, the main ones, Feaster and ETN. So Clemson's team this next year is going to be primed to make another playoff run. And these guys, the reason they're coming back is because they want to win another title. That's the main reason. And it seems to me that they've sort of all colluded together to come back together and make one final run at this thing. So Clemson's team next year is going to be even better than it was this year. There'll be a quarterback competition as far as Kelly Bryant and Trevor Lawrence, who's coming in as a true freshman. And Dabo Swinney has shown that he doesn't really care. He does respect, putting your time in and work in and experience and all of that. But he showed whenever Deshaun Watson came for his freshman year, he put him right in because he was clearly the best football player on the team, the best quarterback on the team. So it'll be interesting to see, and there'll be a quarterback competition in the spring, throughout the summer, before the season starts. It'll be interesting to see if he keeps Kelly Bryant in at quarterback or if he gives the nod to the true freshman, Trevor Lawrence. I tend to trust his evaluation of these things. Now, a lot of Clemson fans have very strong feelings either way. I've spoken to several that they're disappointed with Kelly Bryant's playoff game, which that's a whole nother video that I could make. And then there's a whole nother sector of Clemson fans that want to see Trevor Lawrence sit on the bench for another year, give Kelly Bryant one more year, and let Dexter Lawrence sort of learn everything. It's hard to, it's always easy you know, hindsight's 20/20. It's always easy to say, well, you should have done this, should have done that, you know, after the fact. So if they put Trevor Lawrence in there next year and then you know, somehow they lose 2 or 3 games in the year and it's a disappointment, they'll say, oh, he should have been sitting on the bench. And the same thing if you put Kelly Bryant in there and he loses, you know, a few games. So you have to trust the coaches that are there, and I trust them. I mean, why wouldn't I? I mean, there's a reason that Clemson has come from mediocrity into being a top 5 team every year, and it's because of the coaches and it's because of Sweeney. So I trust their judgment on that. But if you're a team that plays against Clemson every year, this is bad news for you. These players all coming back, and I was actually shocked. You know, I thought maybe one of them would stay. You know, you always got one guy that decides he wants to come back. But for all of these guys to come back to make another run at this thing, and it's just, I couldn't be more excited about next year now. I was excited anyway, but this just made it all that much better to have this defense coming back. They're going to be absolutely nasty. They were nasty this year, and they're going to be even nastier next year. They're going to fill some holes in that secondary too, which is going to make them even better. So we'll see. I know that they're already preseason favorites to make it to the playoff again, based on their schedule and based on the players they have coming back. They're not losing hardly anybody compared to what happened the year before. They lost a lot of people and still made it back to the playoffs. So anyway, I'm extremely excited about it. You know, if you're Miami fan or South Carolina fan, you know, this is bad news for you. I'm assuming that Miami's going to make it to the ACC championship game next year, which I think they probably will. I think the only team that's probably going to be poised to give them a run for their money in that division is going to be Virginia Tech, and Virginia Tech has a lot of unknowns right now. I don't think that really, to be honest with you, any of the other teams in that division, you know, Pitt, Georgia Tech, Virginia, you know, North Carolina, I don't think any of those teams are going to be good enough to give Miami much of a fight to win that division. So I'm anticipating clearly a rematch in the ACC championship between Miami and Clemson, and it'll be interesting to see how that all plays out, how good Miami is next year. I know they're losing a lot of players, but they did very well in recruiting, and clearly they're in an upward trend coaching wise. So they'll be better than they were this year. I think Clemson will be better than they were this year. So it's going to be it's a great time to be a Tiger. Next year should be awesome. You know, anyway, have a great day. We'll be back on soon, possibly talk some NFL, which I normally don't do, but there's a lot of good storylines that I probably want to get into for these games coming up this weekend. Have a great day. Pigskin Pete checking out.